Let's take a moment and toast to authentic whiskey. Let's toast to Johnny Walker, the original taste of whiskey. Since 1820, Johnny Walker has remained the world's #1 Scotch whiskey and has won numerous awards for excellence. This because the impeccable formula of distillation has been jealously guarded over the ages, thus its distinctive taste. Johnny Walker comes from an intricate blend of a wide spectrum of carefully selected flavors, giving it that unique taste savored by millions all over the world. So let's toast to the unquestionable taste of whiskey. Johnny Walker, the whiskey the world knows best. Johnny Walker, keep walking. Drink responsibly, not for sale to persons under 18 years and pregnant women. Let me read some messages from our listeners. This one from Osai Benjamin on Spintex says, Akufo-Addo's speech is heavy and deep. My only worry is that how many Ghanaians understood what the president said. Even with us, the so-called elite, what can we remember from the speech, if not the plagiarized quotes?
But the local stations do a good
I believe
job.
that the local
they do a fantastic job.
stations, did a good translation
Yes.
of it. This one from Joanna Labi in Teshi says, Ghana will be a very happy country, respected by the world during a smooth and almost perfect election. But for the plagiarized sentences, we are popular in the world now for bad reasons. But still, I believe in Ghana. Musa Inima has a question for you, Bridget, whom he calls Dzogbenuku, which I suspect means something else in Never. But it's Dzogbenuku. Dr. Indum promised to help President Akufo-Addo to build factories in every region to achieve the NPP's campaign promise. What do you make of it?
He
also,
did? Where?
I don't know. This is Musa.
You have become feisty all of a sudden.
Also, don't you think the move by Dr. Indum will keep the party in opposition forever? I don't
Which
know
move is that?
He doesn't.
From the
He's retired?
He hasn't gone anywhere.
Okay.
He's here.
Okay.
Did you enjoy the journey, by the way?
I did.
You did. Okay. I'm loving the intellectual discussion going on the lounge, says John Kuma in Lagos. My question to your guest is, the election is over. The transition has been smooth. The president has named his ministers. Honestly, you should tell me, do you believe that Ghana is really on the path to success, democracy and development? And that's from John. And then Selena in Kaswa says, I want to hear what your great panelists have to say on the tweet by Lordina Mahama saying that her husband's haters will be put to shame. Was that tweet necessary? This is
Does she tweet this really?
Yes. Well, at least that. Yeah, there was a tweet like that saying that he will be fine and doesn't need to.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
I mean, no doubt he'll be fine. You know that, and maybe that's why they don't want him to have the house.
So, presidential appointments made, cabinet announced. Does the cabinet look as good as you had imagined?
It's definitely larger than I expected or what existed, and even then we said it was bloated.
Okay.
So from 24 to now 36.
Yeah.
The substantive or traditional ministries went up to 29, and then we have 7 new ministers to the presidency or special ministers or whatever. It seems like a lot of roles are being duplicated or even triplicated. Or it would seem. I was asking someone this evening, for example, so where does GIPC fall in all this? I was discussing with a friend who was saying we have the Ministry of Interior, you have the Ministry of Defense, you have the Ministry of Security, and yet you have the National
Minister
Security.
for National Security.
Minister for National
At
Security.
the presidency.
And yes, you still have the
National Security
Coordinator.
We always had it.
Why all these? Why don't all these go under one? Or at least security go under defense, and then maybe interior by itself. Transport, roads and highways, railways, aviation, all, you know.
I like.
It's a bit, you know, and for me, it's not so much that is a problem by itself. So you have all these ministers and the people who will be working with them all being catered for. So not just the minister, there's going to be a deputy minister, there's going to be a chief director, and on and on and on, all driving VAs or whatever will be, you know, we are fueling all these people.
But at the presidency, it will be like that.
Well, yes, indeed.
So let's make a distinction and a separation.
But it's still a lot of people. From 2024 was a lot, and now we have 36.
Yeah.
So your view is...
But my point is, and now you've made me lose my...
Sorry.
Okay, so let's get it back. So Llyod, you interrupting
Yeah.
her. So
no, she has a point.
Okay,
she has a point.
So
but I am... There are contortions, of course. But my argument is this. We face a particular problem in terms of the country and where we want to go. The machinery, the bureaucracy, for me, as a scholar, somebody who's looked at this, has not delivered in the last 24 years. So a smart leader will try and tinker, right? Do some thinking and tinker. So we are seeing this tinkering, right? The test of the pudding would be, let's say, 6 months and a year. But I'm happy that there seems to be a clear focus on some of the main questions. For example, sanitation and water resources, which is what we were talking about.
Which now has a minister.
Yes, our water bodies, the Tano, the Biriam, all these great waters. The Tano, for example, is linked to all kinds of myths in terms of our country, the cultures, and the rest of them, right? And of course, if you don't have water, you can't even industrialize. Because the factory...
You can't do anything.
You can't even live. It has an existential value.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is...
our forebears settled where there was water. Which is why many of the towns end with su.
Yes, and I come from Koleu, which is near the river Koleu.
You see?
Thank you.
You know.
So
the water issue, I see the president, Nana Addo, trying to zero in on these questions. Sanitation. There's a lot of, for example, disease. A lot of our water contaminated with waste, creating gastroenteritis, which is a major problem for our health system.
The public
for simple people like us is dysentery.
Okay.
Cholera.
I'm told by some public health people that what the diseases around 3/4 of what people present at hospitals, especially children, is related to sanitation. Dysentery, cholera, diarrhea,
and all of that. You know, and of course, if you read Addo, who wrote a history of medicine in Ghana, the colonialists really didn't put in place the kind of infrastructure that would have made, sanitation top notch,
Because
so here we are.
We didn't have sanitation problems.
So here we are with this problem. So what I see is, Nana Addo trying to pinpoint and deal with that. Railway, we need it. We have to open the country up. And I always say that transport is not just goods and services, it is also about ideas. So we have this organic, synergistic, mixing of
okay. Let me get Carmynta's
You want me
thoughts.
to go? Carmynta is pointing to me.
You go.
I agree with Llyod, but you don't need a minister for all of these things. You still have the technocrats there.
My argument was it's never worked.
Well, maybe that is what we should look at. Making sure those work.
But the
fact that you are appointing new ministers, a minister will not make it work. It is, getting the people, charging them with their duties and their delivery.
But it's two sides.
And let me just finish that point. Also, you will find that a lot of these ministers are political appointees. It is not people who have risen through the civil service and have the experience, have the skills. Indeed, there are.
But you would have been VP.
Okay. There are, yes.
Without all of that.
You see.
Okay. So, let me hear Carmynta. Yes.
Well, Kwaku, thank you. The first thing I would like to say is that in your introductory statement, you compared the speed of getting the cabinet into place with your cabinet, which unfortunately is a kitchen cabinet. But I would like to commend Nana for the speed with which he's put the cabinet together, it shows that he wants to hit the ground running. And so that is very commendable. In the first instance, he has decided that he needs to focus on certain areas, so he's created ministers to be responsible. But if you also look at our constitution, it gives us a maximum number of cabinet ministries that can be set
not
up.
less than 10, not more than 90.
Yeah,
That's
90
cabinet
ministers.
ministers.
Cabinet
You could have
ministers.
ministers who are not cabinet
Yeah, that's
ministers.
right.
But they are
Yes,
ministers, yeah.
but do they have to be what? Another 50% more?
Yeah, but the point is, Doik was talking about sanitation, and I think that particular one, in fact, long before, I had been advocating that the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, and not only
where
that,
you work,
where
yes,
I was,
yes.
she said that it was too unwieldy and that it needed to be split. The same Honorable Abambagwin himself has said that before, that it needed to be split. So what we have now, I think, is the best. Now, moving forward, there are others that I don't think were necessary. For example, you talk about railways. I was advocating that even roads and highways and transport should be merged for the simple reason that that is transportation and they are all related. You cannot look at one aspect without the other. You cannot look at railways without looking at
Don't you think, and I've got to wrap this up,
Yes.
don't you think that the isolation and appointment of a minister for, say, railways means that, almost like this is a project, this is a task that I want delivered, and I want a minister who will basically
Crack the whip and get going.
I think
who's
that
assigned specifically to railways to deliver the vision and agenda that I have
And
for
quickly.
the term that I have.
What
rather than
chief
subsume it under
Under all of that.
well,
A chief
chief
director is
directors
not a
cannot
minister.
They are
drive.
not,
Yes,
they cannot
but
drive
what
it.
is the need?
And
If
they
they are the technocrats.
But they have oversight.
The minister, like I said, are political
right.
appointees.
Okay.
Which is not bad.
All right.
Please,
Okay.
it is.
No, it's not.
Please, it is.
It's not.
I'm sorry, I've run out of time.
Yes.
Sadly, but the conversation will continue here in the bar and on Facebook, that where we've been streaming live, and so keep the conversation going. And I'll see you next week. Thanks, Dr. Carmynta, Baezie, Bridget Dzogbenuku. Did you bring some Zomia along?
I did.
Okay. all
I
right,
always
so-
have Zomi with me.
Okay,
And
I'll
doesn't
take-
stain my white shirt.
And we hope your cabinet will be done quicker.
We'll be done quick. Thanks, Lloyd, and thanks for listening to us. And I'll see you next week. My name is Kwaku. Bye for now.
The Lounge, proudly brought to you by Johnny Walker. Keep walking.